No, I've asked him, but as I said, I messaged him after training last night and nothing. So,
but anyway, thanks for coming on, guys. Anyway,
you're welcome.
Appreciate that. So we've got Rich Waite from Nightingale FC and Nick from Nightingale FC. Obviously, there is another gentleman involved, Perry, I believe.
Yeah. Perry's took a bit of a, without going too much into detail, Perry's obviously got a lot of personal stuff going on. So Nick sort of took his role to some, and obviously we've got Damien as well. But to be fair, Damien's more, I don't know how to put it. He basically, mate, contacts businesses for us. Basically does all the stuff me and Nick don't want to do.
Yeah.
Grab that.
Pretty much, mate. Nah, to be fair, there's not a lot you don't do, isn't there?
I try my best, mate.
You got a lot on, mate, ain't you? You got a lot on.
Oh, it's just manic. It's just constantly working on it, and I think because of the job at the moment and the situation with like the school I'm in, and I'm only in 1 day a week at the moment, it's just given me sort of time to chip away at stuff while I've been off, whilst looking after the little one. So it's just carnage, but you just do what you can when you can, don't you? Really. So the more we get done over the summer, the easier it's going to be the other side, particularly ready for next year. Sort of get as much as we can done over the next couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So John came up with the idea, obviously, because we feel that we've got quite a good relationship with you guys now, which is perfect. And obviously, want to keep that going as much as we possibly can, work together, and do as much as we possibly can for each other. And obviously the charities that we support. So John came up with the idea of just getting us on a call just before we come up to you guys and do a proper full recording. Obviously just to build on a relationship that we've got, give you guys the opportunity to explain a little bit about what you do from our point of view as well, and just ask each other some questions and build on that, mate, if that's all right.
Yeah, super.
Yeah, that's good to me.
Yeah, perfect. So I don't know which one of you guys want to go first. Just introduce yourselves, perhaps. Just explain a little bit about Nightingale and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do, just in case, obviously Nick's son obviously wakes up and he's got to go elsewhere, so I'll let Nick get in what he wants to get in first.
Sure.
To be fair, it should be all right. But yes, basically, I mean, Rich and Perry were the sort of driving force behind starting it up. It might be worth you sort of just really quickly introducing that bit, because it was sort of Perry's idea, wasn't it? And then I'll jump in.
Okay. No, I was just thinking, mate, just on behalf of T, that's all.
just putting it all on the floor at the moment. So Peppa Pig might keep him quiet for a few minutes.
Okay, so basically, mate, so we're a football team set up. So it was, long story short, Perry come to me with an idea, told me what he wanted to do, similar to an event that I'd done last year, and he come to me because obviously my experience in doing it. So we sat out in the garden having a few beers, and we thought, let's go ahead with it, because we had a little look on Twitter because there's so many charity teams. I was like, well, no one's actually done this yet. I haven't seen anything. I've seen people do one-off events, and I thought nobody's actually got a team. And that's what I thought, do you know what a perfect time. Yeah. And obviously we went ahead with it, and we was thinking of names. We took a few days, and then we looked, and obviously in Birmingham and London you had the emergency hospitals, Nightingale, which obviously covers the overspill of the cases from COVID. And luckily they weren't used as much as what they thought they would. But we went ahead with Nightingale, and we just thought, the name just suits it down to the ground. Went ahead with that. And to be fair, we were formed about a week, and I managed to secure a kit through Matt Sports. To be honest with you, I can't remember how I even got in contact with Stuart, our matchday marketing guy that does our graphics. Obviously, Spencer, your partner, does all of yours. So Spencer, he's a chap based, I believe, it's definitely London way. And he reached out, and he does all of our graphics for us. And to be fair, he's outstanding. His attention to detail is just so professional. But what we do, mate, essentially, as you know, is we're going to be playing fixtures up and down the country. to support the NHS charities. We'll field NHS and key workers as well. So basically, we give people from the NHS, obviously key workers, the opportunity to play football and also use the sport that we all love to raise as much funds as we possibly can. You know, especially if everybody's used the NHS at some point in their life. And we weren't, and I'm sure Nick will tell you, we weren't expecting so much exposure. We're very humble about it. We don't do that. We want to help and support charities. That's why we had, to be honest, we had a few options. We could have partnered with AFC Yorkies. There was a few more that that wanted to partner with us, but we went ahead with you guys purely because we like how you are. We like that you're a family club as well. I like you promote equality, diversity as well. You don't stand for any sort of bullying or anything of that regard. So we just thought, we really like this, and we thought while we can become popular, you guys will also become popular. We're in 2 different regions as well, and I feel that we both promote the same thing. Yes, we do purely NHS charities, and you guys, the beauty of you guys is you could do one event for one charity and another event for another, and I quite like that. But to be honest, one thing that I really like about you guys is you two remind me very much of me and Nick, where me and Nick, to the point, if I'm honest, it sounds quite bad, we're pretty much Nick. We're constantly on it. And he'll sometimes message me at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, Rich, I think this should be a class idea. He's up at 6:30, 7 o'clock, because he's got a full day of teaching, and he's got a little one, a wife as well. So I don't know how on earth he balances all of that, so full credit to him. And I think, to be honest, me and him just work. We bounce off each other so well, Nick joined us, I think, in the 3rd or 4th week of forming, and I can, without licking his backside too much, we wouldn't be half as big as what we are now if we didn't have him. Just purely for how he's, his attention to detail, how professional he is. He's he's outstanding with his writing skills. He makes me, Perry, and Damien look thick as shit, just because of how good he is at writing. And
that was before I joined that one.
Yeah, he's very business savvy as well. He's probably going to say to Sam, his partner, "Oh, look at what the lads are all saying to me. They say more nicer things than you probably do." But he's to be fair, he's class. I can't fault him. But obviously, there is another project that I'll go on to a little bit later that me and Nick are looking at. Obviously for the future, and it looks very exciting for 2021. Without talking too much, obviously we're doing really, really well, and we're looking forward to obviously having the fixture with you guys on the 17th. All goes well. We haven't got to postpone anything, and that football will be given the green light as of hopefully October. It all depends, really. The FA haven't released anything. You see a lot online. I know the Sun published an article yesterday, but who listens to the Sun? So it is what it is. We'll just have to play it by ear and hope that football isn't too far away from resuming, at least for the short term anyway, until an unfortunate second spike sort of happens.
Well, let's hope not anyway. Let's hope not. But yeah, that's perfect. I mean, the same goes to you guys, which is the whole reason why we reached out to you in the beginning. Is the fact that we had full belief in we followed you for a while before we got in contact with you guys anyway.
Yeah.
Me and John had regular talks about what you guys are doing, and we thought it was brilliant. Specifically with the current situation that we're in at the moment, as you said, there's no one else out there that's doing it, so you guys have really hit the nail on the head. But we were following you, and we decided that we'd reach out and try and form that relationship and that partnership with you guys because one, we felt it could be beneficial for both parties, and two, from the conversations that we had prior to that anyway, we just felt that you guys shared the same kind of morals and the ethos that we do. And as you quite rightly said, there's some other people out there that don't. and that's quite important. You have to be really humble when you're trying to do this as well. You can't, as I said, you're trying to do it for a specific reason and not yourself. So you have to be humble when you're doing that. And we felt that you guys were perfect for what you're doing, and exactly the kind of people that we wanted to be involved with. And I'm sure John will second that as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you said before as well, we've been in contact with a few teams. Like, we had a few teams approach us as well about kind of doing a partnership and joining up, but there was just something that wasn't quite right. And then obviously we found you guys, and as Spencer said, like, we followed you for a while before we decided to get in contact. But yeah, everything that you have done, like, has been bang on, straight to a T. So yeah, I think we're just looking forward to the future, really.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, you just go about your work in the right way. As you don't big yourselves up. You're not me, and you just let what you're doing do the talking. And that's what makes you guys specifically and Nightingale, in our point of view, a really worthwhile cause. So yeah, I'd say massive well done for what you guys are doing at the moment for that.
No, thank you. We appreciate that. No, go on then.
Talk on here.
Oh, well, Nick was talking, and my apologies. So yeah, I mean, we're really proud, obviously, with how far we've come in a short amount of time. You know, our expectations are getting greater by the day. You know, to have Harry Redknapp contact us the other day was just overwhelming. You know, and I think that's really just the start of where potentially this could go. And really, all we wanted to do at first was just, we weren't expecting high profile names to really bother as such, because, you know, as there's a lot of teams that, you know, reach out to them, and unfortunately I don't get the credit that they deserve by these high profile names. So to be considered by them is quite overwhelming. So, but we, as I say, and as you mentioned there, we are very humble, and we're just keeping our feet on the ground and taking it day by day. I'm really looking forward to next year. You know, playing you guys, playing against other respected charity teams, have fun, get to meet new friends, and hopefully towards the latter part of the year, join the ESFL, the Emergency Services Football League, and you know, just as the main part about our cause is just having fun and raising money. We all have our own stories and all our own reasons. My personal battle with mental health is the massive reason why I wanted to do it for the NHS. Reason being, if I'm brutally honest, I feel like mental health is massively underfunded with the NHS. I feel that there could be a lot more out there, and there are services out there, but I feel that there needs to be more done, especially with lockdown and people losing their jobs like myself. You know, you do struggle, and that's why I'm so glad, you know, Nightingale has happened, because like the old saying goes, one door closes, another one opens. So unfortunately I've lost my position, but I've gained a really good project in this, you know, and for all we know, you know, this could have real national, you know, success. But ultimately it's down to how people take it. So far they've taken it wonderfully. We don't want it to just be a 1 year thing. We want it to be constant throughout. We want to have annual targets. So this year our target's 5,000. We've already got I want to say about 600-700, is it, Nick? Yeah.
The thing is, that was only off the back of a sort of short term, like last minute fundraising event. I think the target's there, but it's all been based on when we can do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Obviously the goalposts are changing every 2 minutes. I think once the games are there, I think that's where that money's, you'll see that coming quickly in terms of donations and stuff. I think it's been about, for me, building something that people can see is as professional as possible. That's the big thing for me. That's why I wanted to get involved. I think, you know, I'll put my heart into everything if I know it's going to be done properly and for the right reasons. It's not, like you said, it's not going to be a one-off. It's not for personal gain. You've shared your story. I know I mentioned it to Spencer the other night, mentioned it in the podcast as well. My story is basically, I lost my dad 2009. He had a lot of mental health issues, probably at a time where in media they didn't really sort of see it as being anything important. It's only been the last year or two that I think there's been this conscious effort to try and bring it to the forefront, and they've still got a lot to do. But obviously, I say we lost him suddenly. He was just getting onto the path to recovery, really, looking at retraining. He'd worked at HSBC for 25 years at the top of what he did. You know, they're putting more and more on him. And we saw it coming, sort of thing. It was a case of the more pressure that was put on him, the more risk there was. But he was one of those typical blokes who smashing through his targets 2-3 months early, letting them load more on him. And there was always going to be that point where it broke him. Yeah. And so I was in the second year of my degree. We got a phone call just to say that it'd been taken bad. And then within an hour, you know, we raced over the hospital and it was too late. So for me, the NHS work that they tried to do to, you know, revive him, bring him round, look after him, the mental health support that we got. I mean, I was in the middle of my degree. My brother was just about to hit his GCSEs. So it was a time that we needed support. My mum had been with him since she was a kid at school, so she didn't know any different. And all of a sudden you're taking on a new role of, not a father figure, because I don't agree with that phrase, but, you know, you're suddenly that person that steps up to be the person looking after your mum, the person looking after your brother. Both my dad's parents were still alive as well at the time. Within 6 months of my dad passing away, my nan knew she was ill, and I think she'd given up, to be honest with you. That's the easiest way of putting it. I think as soon as my dad went, she'd had enough. She was an NHS worker for the best part of 35 years. She met my grandfather actually to do just after the end of World War II over in Malta. So she had a lot of time for ex-servicemen. She worked at Selly Oak way past retirement age, and she did it for the love of the job. And my biggest thing with this is it's got to be done going forwards, because as I've put in the letter to like Harry Redknapp's agent, everybody else, my biggest concern is that right now they're getting all the support. The moment that this is declared as being COVID-free or whatever else, what's going to happen then? Are we going to go back to having, you know, the drunkards on a Saturday night abusing A&E staff? Going to have people abusing the system, refusing treatment because somebody's from a different country that's working there. And for me, I think we can really use it as not just a way of promoting the NHS. I think we really need to look at how we can teach it to other people, how we can take it into schools, which has been my focus. I've got a new virtual curriculum that I'm introducing into my new school next year. So we're scrapping homework. It's going to be done like a bit like a GCSE style homework. They can choose what they want to study, but there's different subjects within each unit. So mine's all about the history and fundamentals of football, looking at the finance side of it, looking at how it's grown, and then looking at how it's become an international sport, understanding the different cultures behind players, how they have to diet differently depending on where they're from. But it's all going to underpin with the last project in the summer term. They're going to look at the Nightingale story. The head teachers agreed to it. It's going to be our school charity for the year as well. And they're going to try and support us. So the idea is we're going to get the kids to come up with events that can help raise money for it as well, so they can be part of the project. And what's to say, you know, 5 years down the line, 10 years, if it's really successful, they're taking on roles. And I think any way that we can push things on to the next generation is the big one for me. I think it's not just a case about the here and now. We've got to get as many people on board that are younger as well. Exactly. That's the only way we're going to step forward.
Yeah, we had a similar conversation last night about building the foundations of the football club and ensuring that what we're doing now is building a stepping stone for the younger generations to carry it on in our footsteps. Exactly the same as what you're doing. But yeah, first and foremost, sorry to hear about your dad anyway. I know we spoke about that the other night. But it certainly does sound like, obviously, you've got a real pure reason and a passion for doing this. Which is, again, from my point of view, is an inspirational point. And it just gives you that sense of purpose as well, specifically with the lockdown, COVID, everything else that's going on. For example, like Rich unfortunately losing his job, me not working at the moment, it just gives you a sense of purpose to get up and actually fight, and give you that passion to put what you're doing back into a community as well. Which is what we're trying to do with local schools, etc. as well, a bit like what you're doing, trying to educate that particular type of that particular type of circle, making sure that everybody understands what charity is, how it can benefit other people, and just being real humble around that particular point.
No, exactly. I think for me, having people around the country as well, that's been our big thing. Now we've seen the level of interest in it. It's not just, again, for personal gain and for NHS charities together. I think it's a message that we can send like everywhere. If we can get, one thing we have mentioned is potentially looking at things like hubs, so having people that represent the club either under another charity badge or representing Nightingale within a specific area if it was to grow bigger. Because obviously that business of trying to get everyone together. And the one thing we've had to be really mindful of as well, and this is one of the big things I know we've been discussing due to certain other clubs and their morals. For me, it's making sure that the players realise why they're doing it as well. Like, you know, we're going to get NHS players, that's great, but it's not always going to be possible to field 11 NHS players per week due to shifts and everything else. So it's getting people on board who are not just seeing it as a chance to have a kickabout in a team that's doing all right. We've said it before, we'd rather have 15 players that are sort of average, maybe not even that great at football, but they're fully committed. I don't just want people who are going to turn up because it's, you know, an event where there's a load of people there, play their game, wear the shirt and then bugger off. It's got to be done for the right reasons, and it's got to be progressive. And I know we're not a professional club, but like my aspirations would be to make it as professional as possible. And I think we've all got to collectively do that, because the moment you slip or the moment you do something wrong, I mean, you saw the other week we had people questioning things like the logo because of the way it looked, and you're always going to have someone from some facet that's going to look to shoot you down because it's an opportunity for them to get the limelight or an opportunity to make you look bad. They might be jealous or whatever else, but you know, you've just got to handle yourself. We had the discussion with Pez, didn't we? We had a couple of people who were looking to fly off the handle, and I said, look, you know, if you act like that when we're in front of a camera or somebody comes to watch or in front of a parent, whatever else, the whole thing could just end up falling on its arse. You've got to make sure that you are professional in everything that you do. So that for me is the biggie. We've just got to make sure it's as big as possible, but at the same time do it the right way. We're last thing I'll say, sorry, because I'm rambling on. We've just put a grant in, or a grant application with Sport England as well. I don't know if that's been mentioned to you guys.
No.
Keep an eye on their website. I literally found out the night it was closing. But basically they wanted any teams that you had to prove that the team had been set up during lockdown, so there was no like previous work done before. But they're looking at funding projects that are trying to help people from who have lost their jobs, Black, Asian minority ethnic groups, LGBT, everything, all encompassing. I saw the grant, I applied for it. I mean, I don't personally think we'll get it, but we had an email back the other day to say that it's past the first phase, and now they're choosing from the final selection as to who's going to get that. There's about £2 million in the pot, so it could be anything from like 100 quid, which would help, up to anything really. So we're just waiting to find out about that. But I think one thing that was made quite clear to me and what they said is any way that we can get more people from different minority groups, mental health groups, elderly people involved, make it like an actual community project, the more chance we've got of this lifting off the ground. So we've just got to get as many people in as possible, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, just going back to your point about what you did, you making sure that you've got it. It doesn't matter whether you've got the best team in the world or you haven't got a great football ability team. For us, it's not. Yes, don't get me wrong. We want to go out and win games, but it's not all about that for me and John. It's about. I mean, from the beginning, me and John set a rule saying that. And I don't mean this is any disrespect to any Sunday League side, is that we didn't want any player that already plays for an existing Sunday League outfit, because we didn't want to bring that particular type of Sunday League attitude into this world, because we're trying to build as a professional, trying to build a professional foundation as much as we possibly can. Yeah. Plus, you've also got obviously charities and sponsors that you need to represent, and you need that professionalism at all times. But plus, we've selected our particular players that, I mean, most of our players have been affected by something in their lives. So all of our players are given the opportunity to select a chosen charity to play for on behalf of themselves or anyone that they know that's been affected by that charity. So it gives them that purpose as well. But we carefully selected our players based on the commitment that they showed to our cause as well. Which is the most important thing for me, is that we want people to be committed to the cause. We don't just want like the odd one-timer to turn up, think they're going to play a game and then move on. Because for us, we want to, like yourselves, build that foundation, have that group of players that we can then pass that on to the younger generation. And you're only going to do that by building that solid footing. So that's kind of the way that we've done. I mean, John might have a different view on that, but that's kind of how we set it up.
No, as you said about going, like bringing away from players that don't currently play for a Sunday League team. Again, about bringing that environment into our club. It was about as well, like as you said, having the commitment. You know, we want to build more than just a club, and we have. I think we've built quite a family feel around the club. It's not just people that are coming and kicking a ball about and then going to do their thing with another team. You know, we've got full commitment to what we're doing. And I think everyone we've brought in knows the importance of what we're doing and how we're doing it. As you say, we've got sponsors to represent. We've got that affiliation with Whitton Town that, you know, has really helped us boost the level that we've gone to, as opposed from just hiring a ground for every game. We've now got that commitment with Whitton that we can both build together. So it's not just about bringing in any old players. And back to what you guys mentioned before about you could just have 11 world-class players that you're not going to get that commitment. You'd rather have a team of players that, yeah, are average, but you know you're going to get 110% out of them all the time, and you know they're going to be very committed to the cause. Yeah. And I think that's what me, you, and Seb have done from day one, isn't it, Spence?
Yeah, and it's not just about the team, obviously, because you've got to pick a team to play. As you said, you've got 100 players, but you can't put 100 players on the pitch. But what we've said is that we have looked at our team and people that have shown that commitment, and every single one of our players has turned around to us and basically said that whether they are playing or not, they will 100% be there to support. And that's the kind of commitment that you want. And we just felt that you wouldn't get that from a Sunday League side. So that's pretty much the reason why we decided to go down that route.
You know, when you initially set your team up, and obviously you were advertising, you had people apply. How did you, firstly, how many did you have apply? And second of all, how did you go about sort of deciding who was right for the club? Did you trial them? How did you sort of go about?
So obviously we had 2 games last year, and they were both just games set up under the Essex Charity FC banner, but we didn't play any other teams. Yeah. So we went from having about 40 players in a group. And then when we decided, right, we're going to take it full time next year, coming into 2020, we had people leave that were like, oh, well, actually, we want to go and play full time for a Sunday League club. We was like, yeah, fine. You know, we left on good terms. And some of the players have seen what we're doing and they've actually realised, hang on, they're not just going to play a game every other month. They're going to be playing week after week. And we have had players drop their teams and come and play for us. But again, as we mentioned before, it was just about, we had an initial conversation with every player and we just outlined what we wanted from them. And they either said, yeah, you know, we can bring that to the table in terms of we can commit to use and we can give you 110%. Or it was a case of, well, I can be there for one event and then you won't see me again for another 3 months. And it was like, well, you know, not to be horrible, but we don't want that in our club.
Yeah.
So we were quite lucky to carry from what we had last year and just whittle it down from that. But yeah, initially it was just, I think we all invited people we knew, really, didn't we, Spence? And just
but we
built up 2 clubs or
we
2
have had
teams.
other people contact us and things asking to come and play, and we've had a few of them. But same as you guys, we're an open club. We would never refuse anyone that wants to come and play for a charitable cause. It would just defeat the object of what we're trying to do. But obviously, from our point of view as well, we have to obviously look at this from a fairness point of view on our other players as well. So it is just a simple fact of inviting those players along to a session or a training session, trialing them for a couple of weeks, seeing what their ability is like, seeing how committed they are to the cause. Yeah. It's the commitment for us that's the most important thing. If you couldn't kick a ball, it doesn't really matter too much, because as long as you show commitment to the club, that's the most important thing for us.
I think with our trials, I mean, me and Nick have briefly discussed it, but we're meeting up tomorrow to sort of go through plans, and realistically, trial 100 players right now. You can't. And to do it, it's just going to be difficult. You're going to have, especially when there's only team management as well. So what we're trying to do, me and Nick tomorrow, is to look through the names, work out who obviously we should shortlist. The only difficult thing is I don't like saying no to people that I haven't met.
Yeah.
Because I might say yes to somebody that's really arrogant and might misuse the charity and use it for the wrong reasons, and say no to somebody that could genuinely be interested in driving this forward. And I think I can say on behalf of Nick that and same with you guys, we haven't decided how many players we want, but really we just want people that are committed. And I know for the trials, so for example, if you go for a professional trial, you're based purely on your ability and obviously your attitude. For us, ability as well. We're not overly fussed. We just want people. I'd much rather 20 players come training every week that are just average. They don't need to be outstanding. We're really not fussed by that. As long as they share all our social media stuff, help us, and really drive the charity forward. Because the last thing we want is for somebody, and you always get it, that mutes the chat on Facebook or WhatsApp. They then won't get any of the information, and then they won't share any posts on Facebook. And the only time you'll ever hear them is when, oh, am I playing?
Yeah, we have been in that situation, Rich. We had a player that was like that.
Yeah, and I don't want that.
No, and me and John just took the decision that unfortunately we had to remove him from the club because it didn't show that commitment that we wanted. And we need that. You have to have that when you're playing for a cause. It's unprecedented.
I think also with the sort of media work as well, anything you say, the message we've been delivering all the way through is the whole thing about being equal, togetherness, inclusiveness with everything that's going on. And I mean, we'll go on about the secondary project we're looking at in a minute, but it still underpins what we're doing at the moment. And for me, I think obviously the code of conduct's one thing, but we've got to make sure that we're acting on that. Mm-hmm. There cannot be any leeway in it. And there's been little things that have happened, even within the people that are organising the club. And obviously this is aimed at you, Rich, what I'm on about. But for me, it's almost having that, and I'm going to say it, like a teacher mentality. I can't afford to have people involved in this who don't want to take it seriously, and not just from the point of view of being committed, but just little things like the way they're saying things, the way they're doing things. I mean, you guys know what happened with the whole kit competition. Yeah. And straight away we had one or two of them straight on the bandwagon, like, oh, shall I set up another profile and say this? Shall I do this? And I'm like, why? What's the mentality for? What are you doing it for? It's not a rival team. What happened. You move on. You do it the professional way, like we did, and we ended up as it happened with a kit.
But you won at the end of the day, didn't you? So.
Yeah, you've just got to remember who you're doing it for. And my worry is, we're saying all these messages on the radio and why we're doing it. They've only got to look at one person who's acting the wrong way, and there'll be someone to try and shoot you down. So we've got to try and get it spot on all the way through. And if we get into the ASFL, that's when it might have to be different because there are stipulations as the rules. It is ultimately a competitive league, so that's when we might have to switch the focus. But I think we've just got to make it clear now with everybody who is a member, when we have whittled it down, that there will be at some point a more professional element to who's selected in regard to competition. Yeah. But right now, I mean, I don't see why we can't keep, there are 100 names on file. With the interest we're getting and the way we're moving around the country, we're going to be needing those people to play in fixtures when not everybody's able to get that time off. Cool. And it's no knock at you guys at the moment. We've got loads of time before that date in January. You've only got to have something happen that changes shift patterns, and we've got 3 or 4 players that can't play. Use my brother as an example. My brother's just got in the police force. He's one of our lads that we class as being a regular, but having seen what his shift patterns are like, there's no guaranteeing that he'll be able to play in that fixture. So we've just got to make sure that we've got people who are committed, but also a big enough spectrum to cover anything that we're doing, whether it be tournaments, fixtures, travelling down to, say, you guys or anywhere else, really.
It's the same to us as well, isn't it? As I mentioned the other day, we've got a couple of lads that are in us that are NHS workers as well. And a lot of the other lads do various different jobs where they've got really dodgy shift patterns. So John and myself had to look at that. It's similar to you as well. Like we need, you do need that little bit extra to accommodate for those people that potentially can't be there. So I think we've got 25 in our group now, John. We've whittled it down to, I think.
Yeah, around that, 24, 25.
But as I said, we started off with about 40 players, I think. Maybe slightly more than that, but it was different.
That's with people coming in as well. Like, this isn't the original 25.
Yeah.
This is people that approached us afterwards and said, I really liked what you did in the first 2 games. You know, can we come and get involved? And we said, like, as you mentioned earlier, we're not going to turn anyone away. All we ask is for that commitment. So,
but we've had to be very strict about the point as well, because again, it's a reputation at the end of the day, isn't it, for not only yourselves but who you're representing.
Yeah.
So I said to John from the very beginning, I said what we have to do is we have to build in a code of conduct.
Yeah.
It has to be done, because you're protecting yourselves, and obviously we've got membership forms, everything that they have to fill, which got additional rules and regulations on there. I know you guys have done the same, but for us, by those guys signing that, it does commit them to us and show, well, actually those rules might be slightly harsh, but by signing them, it means that they're committed to us.
Yeah, spot on. In terms of fixtures, then, so like, how long have you guys been going for now altogether?
First game was May last year.
May 19, yeah.
Yeah, we played 2, didn't we? 2 in May, and then we was going to do October, which ended up getting cancelled. And then after that, we was like, right, let's just take it full time. And then COVID struck, and we was like, okay, we'll take it when we can.
So, like, after this, what's your outlook in terms of regularity of fixtures? Then you look in every week, every fortnight. Roughly, what's your sort of plan?
Well, at the moment, obviously, we had so many teams contact us to play us, and obviously we contacted other teams as well, just to try and build the fixture book. And at the moment, well, hopefully we get the go-ahead soon. We've literally got a game every single week right up until the beginning of December.
Yeah, starting from next Sunday, it would have been.
And we're also booked for January, February and March next year as well.
Right.
There's other things going on, like leagues and everything like that, but for us at the moment it's not really of interest, because we want to make sure that our lads are committed to our charity more than anything, and the other people, like for example, when we come and play you guys, we'll be committed to playing that game in aid of your charity.
Yeah,
and what we don't want to do is burn our lads out too much in the way that they can't play, and then you fall down a little bit there. So we've got a game every week. Is that maybe a little bit too much? Yes, maybe. But as I said, we're not going to turn down the opportunity to play a game for a charity.
How many players do you have?
We've got about 25. We've whittled it down to 25 players now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. I just wondered.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, sorry, mate. I just cut you off. I just wondered how many.
No, you didn't. So I've got the little one asking for food. It's him I'm talking to. He just woke up, so he's stuffing his face now.
But yeah, it was quite difficult to whittle it down to 25. I mean, we haven't got like 100 players like you guys, so I'm going to really feel your pain when you have to try and whittle that down. That's going to be quite difficult. But yeah, we were quite stipulant in what we did with that. Again, making sure that people were committed, not just on their ability. As I said, we've got players that have never played men's football before, but to us it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
No,
I think it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, but one thing that we did sure is we wanted to make sure that every single one of our lads had the opportunity to raise money for a charity that means something to them, which is why we don't raise for a specific club charity, so to speak.
Yeah. Do you guys do like? I know Football in Mind, we done it. We haven't looked at it yet for Nightingale, but it's something I was going to suggest. So not even Nick knows about it yet. But player sponsors, can you get businesses that will sponsor individual players, and obviously, and then they'll have the funds from there, and then they can then obviously give it to the charity. I know some people like to do that way. It's also as a nice way for an individual to raise money for the charity as well. Do you guys do that sort of thing, or?
We have spoke about it, I
Yeah.
believe, haven't we, in the past? But we've kind of shied away from it from the time
Yeah.
being, because I just think that takes the focus off what we're trying to do. The focus is, I know the focus, obviously you've got the group of players there, which is great, and we're raising money for their charities, but the focus is on the Essex Charity brand raising money for a specific charity. So we have spoke about it. Maybe it'd be something that we'd look into build that solid foundation, and making sure that we can build it up as much as possible before we start looking into things like that.
One thing